You have a lot of negatives.
Maybe for bottom up, it could just work for a small company rather than a bigger one. So let's take the example of a university that they receive the budget and they just work with the budget that they have. So basically for me, the approach would be bottom up.
To be honest, the budget negotiations in our university is not only bottom up because this is the funding is generated by the whole university. Then there is an allocation process based on given resources and based on KPIs and so on. For example, how many students should be in a lecture and what is the capacity you require from professors. So, very interesting issue.
Maybe a positive thing for bottom up is depending on your organizational goals also, you give the divisions more flexibility and kind of more like a creativity point, or like in, let's say, not only in terms of R&D but in general innovation approach. So if they can have their own projects and say to which extent they are willing to drive the organization forward beyond their division's borders, then they might have a very greater impact or influence on their budget they can use for these activities.
Yeah, definitely. So here, it's basically the opposite of a top-down approach where this creativity definitely is not promoted. But when you have a top-down approach and make a competition between different departments about who has the most creative and innovative ideas, then it's something else. You are definitely involved, definitely. Okay, thank you for this very inspiring discussion. I'll let you know the result in practice. Maybe you have seen it. Your opinions do very much reflect the practice in Germany, because what here is countercurrent. This is the combined approach is applied by the big majority of companies. The question is a little bit, or the discussion is a little bit, how much top-down and how much bottom-up, and how can this approach be organized efficiently? Because the big disadvantage of this approach is that it requires a lot of resources for the budgeting process. And some people say it's more important to be with the customers than to do budgeting. You do not? You do not agree?
Well, I wouldn't agree totally, because I think that when you have money in a company, as you said, it's a limiting factor. You need to allocate it according to what you prefer your business is going to be. Like if you want to sell a product, you give more budget to the product, and finance is usually a part where there's not so many money for budgeting. So you have to have a good background for your company, so it's working really well and everything's going fluent. If you allocate money like here, you can have 1 million, you can have 1 million, everyone will use up that money, and you can count it on your fingers how long a company will last when everything is spent, so to say. So I think it's very important to make these decisions, whether you get more money or less money in your cost center, and work according to it.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, I just want to say within, you can go to the homepage of the International Group of Controlling, or the International Association of Controllers. They have a big discussion on how to make budgeting processes more efficient, because this is something what has a lot of capacity. And this is another picture. It's maybe more than 10 years old, but I don't see that it has changed so much. The capacity which controllers and managers spend with budgeting. What you see here, the majority of the managers spend 1 to 2 weeks per year. So if you have 52 weeks, or maybe including holidays, 46 or 48 weeks a year, so 2 weeks, it's about 5% or so of whole management capacity. And if you see here, the controllers, they work 9 to 12 weeks, and this means it's about 20 to 25% of the whole capacity of a controller being involved in budgeting processes.
Well, I totally understand that point, that it is really time consuming, especially
Yeah.
when you have a bigger company. In little startup, it's more feasible and easy to go, so to say. Like in my case, we are planning to do like 2 or 3 months for the whole process with communicating, negotiating, and then giving out the budget. I feel like it's a very crucial part of the company to have a good budgeting and a good basis for every cost center to act accordingly. So you have to allocate the money based on historical data, and it should be done, which is my opinion.
And it's not only about allocating the money, it's part, but it's also about what are our goals for revenues, what are our goals for profits, how is cash availability secured over the whole period. Again, I mean, the aspect of allocating resources is one thing, but it's not the whole budgeting exercise. So, I'd like to show you how the process of this combined approach is organized. This reflects very much my personal experience. In the first couple of weeks of the year, the strategic department is busy with strategic planning. This means updating the budget of the year, of last year to maybe more periods, up to 5 years. Usually a strategic plan is implemented, and it's about market shares, it's about profitability, for example, return on investment or return on sales number. It's not so much about absolute profit, so rather high-level KPIs. And then maybe in spring, the assumptions from the strategic plan are given to initiate the budgeting process, and this is in this moment a top-down process. So if we would like to reach our strategic plan, what is necessary for the whole company, which revenues, which profit numbers, which investments. And that is a first information, so communication is key, to the whole organization. And based on this first information, then based on our strategic plan, the profit, revenues, cost, and so on should behave like this. Then please initiate a bottom-up process. And then it's about the comparison. The comparison between bottom-up and top-down should have two effects. The one is to think about, for the departments, for the cost centers, they should be aware maybe that expectations are different.